What is up, my dudes? And that one girl is here for some more sibling rivalry. Yeah, it's a nice little throwback to when you were a kid, right? This is Bikes, Beards, and Brews. Let's kick that intro. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Before we kick this one off, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell notification. New videos are coming weekly. You ring that bell, you know when they drop. Let's get the other stuff out of the way. Want to save 10% on a Cardo communicator or save some money on some Beyond Riders gear? Then you should definitely check my referral links down below. Want to support me and all my do-goodness like these cool guys here? Bam! You should become part of the Brew Crew and join the coffee page down below. Wonder why I'm asking you for money? Well, next to those 10,000 Amazon affiliate links that also go to a good cause is a link explaining what I do with your money. Get it, got it, cool, let's move on. Alright guys, so today we are going to be putting the 2025 Harley Davidson Lowrider ST up against the 2025 Harley Davidson Road Glide. That's a mouthful, right? But we're going to do some comparisons between these two, and we're going to see which one may be right for you if you are currently shopping. Now, just a few caveats. The reason why we are doing the Lowrider ST versus the Road Glide and not including stuff like the Street Glide is because the Lowrider ST and the Road Glide are both fixed fairing motorcycles, whereas the Street Glide is not, so it's a little bit different. However, if you are interested in that bike, some of these facts are going to be very similar. So if you are considering like a Lowrider ST versus a Street Glide, this video would still pertain to you. So let's get into it, shall we? Alright, so right out of the gate, the big difference between these two bikes is the Lowrider ST is a soft tail model versus the Road Glide, which is a touring model. So they are on two different frames, and those differences will come up as we go through this list. The reason why we're comparing these two, aside from the fact that they are fixed fairing bikes, is because a lot of times people reference the Lowrider ST as a baby bagger. For those of you unaware, a Road Glide is a bagger because it comes with bags. And you have that group of people that like to choose the Lowrider ST over the Road Glide because they're getting that bagger experience with a smaller, lighter bike. However, there are a lot more differences here, and that's what we're going to pick apart. So when you're going into the dealership or you're looking around for a bike, you're a little more informed and you know like what's separating these two bikes. Alright, so first and foremost, we're going to talk about the base model price on these, which is going to be that billiard gray paint and the chrome finish on the engine. Personally, I do not like this billiard gray. I've said it many times before. It just looks like somebody glossed over some primer. Not a fan. I wish they would go back to Vivid Black as their base color, but whatever, that's a Harley thing. Vivid Black is now an upcharge on both of these bikes, and I think it's about $500 if you want just a straight black bike, so keep that in mind. The Lowrider ST comes in at $24K, whereas the Road Glide comes in at $28K. Again, these are base models, so you're talking that billiard gray and the chrome finish on the engine. Anything past that, if you're going for a blacked out engine, if you're going for different colors, those are going to be upcharges, so keep that in mind. The big one right out of the gate is the Lowrider ST has 114 horsepower coming out of its 117 high output engine, whereas the Road Glide comes in at 105 horsepower, also coming out of a 117 engine, but it is not the high output model. The other slight variant is the Lowrider ST has 128 foot-pound of torque, whereas the Road Glide is coming in at 130 foot-pound of torque. So even though you've got the high output engine, a little less torque there. Not enough to be concerned about. We're talking 2 foot-pounds, so just keep that in mind as well. Weight-wise, the Lowrider ST is coming in at 712 pounds, whereas the Road Glide is coming in at 838 pounds, so that is a chunky bike over there. However, as I said, one is a tourer, one is a softail, so there is a size difference between these two bikes as well. And honestly, the Road Glide doesn't feel like 838 pounds, at least to me, it doesn't feel like that. It does when you're pulling it off the kickstand or something like that, but once you're riding, these things, like, there's a reason why Glide is in the name. These things glide. They feel great. It is not like you're just heaving around a bike. These things go. And that's not to say that the Lowrider ST isn't easy to flick around either. I've taken these things for rides and they are excellent and they are flickable as all hell. And, you know, at the end of the day, they are definitely more flickable than a Road Glide. So, you know, keep that in mind as well. If you are looking to really carve up some tight turns, the Lowrider ST is probably going to be your bike versus the Road Glide. There's not going to be a huge difference, but there will be a noticeable difference between the two. When it comes to color variants, the Lowrider ST, if you combined the blacked out engine and the chromed out engine, you have a combined total of 6 different paint colors you can choose. And the reason why I'm saying combined is because some of the colors are offered in chrome and not black. Some of them are offered in black and not chrome. That being said, with the Road Glide, you are getting 11 combined colors between the chrome and the black. So if you're looking for a wider range of options to find that right color for you, the Road Glide's probably going to do it. However, I mean, it only takes one color that you like. So, I mean, it's not a big deal, but you've got more chances to nail the one you want on the Road Glide. However, that Lowrider ST has some great color options on it this year. Past years, I haven't been too impressed. This year, I love at least 3 of them. So, you know, I the beholder, it's up to you. Maybe you like that billiard gray. I don't know. Like, you do you, I'll do me. That's the way we'll go. Now, the Lowrider ST has a 5-gallon gas tank, whereas the Road Glide has a 6-gallon gas tank. Now, before you freak out about this, it's a lot closer than you think if you're going on a long trip. The Lowrider ST reports 47 miles per gallon, whereas the Road Glide reports 44 miles per gallon. So with that extra gallon, the Road Glide's giving you just a little over an extra 30 miles before you have to fuel up. So that is a difference maker, but not a huge difference maker. So if you're looking for a smaller, lighter bike, the Lowrider ST is still a great option here, and you're still going to get way down that highway before you're looking for your next fuel stop. However, if you think that every mile counts, the Road Glide is your bike all day. Now, I mentioned flickability earlier. Now, this is one that actually kind of surprised me. The Lowrider ST has a 31.3 degree lean angle, whereas the Road Glide has a 32 degree lean angle. So we're not talking a huge distance between these two, but I was quite surprised that the Road Glide has a better lean angle than the Lowrider ST. Again, this is less than 1 degree, so it's not something you're really going to notice, but it is there, so keep that in mind. If you really want to get deep into those turns, the Road Glide is going to be the way to go if you're talking stock off the floor. For storage, both of these bikes have dual saddlebags. Now, the Lowrider ST has a combined total of 14 gallons of storage in its clamshell hard cases, whereas the Road Glide has 18 gallons of combined storage on its top load saddlebags. Now, I am not a fan of clamshell bags at all. Never have been. I don't know. I just don't like them. And I know that I'm not alone on this because I hear that complaint a lot. And I've seen people actually take Lowrider STs and convert them into top load saddlebags. So for me, this is the Road Glide all day because you've got an extra 4 gallons of storage in its top load. So I am a huge fan of both of those. But the Lowrider ST is not really a slouch there. 14 gallons is still going to hold a lot of stuff, and it's going to be good if you're taking off for like a weekend. Probably if you're doing a longer trip, you're going to need some extra baggage or, you know, pack really tight. Again, you do you. Now here's a part where I think the Lowrider ST really shines. The Lowrider ST has a monoshock in the rear and it has inverted front forks in the front, whereas the Road Glide is using dual shocks in the back and telescoping shocks in the front. Now, telescoping shocks can be good, and I have ridden the new Road Glides, and honestly, the suspension feels light years better than it did on the previous model, but it still has a lot to be desired. First and foremost, those rear shocks are not the same on both sides. So as far as I'm concerned, Harley is still running one slave shock, and that's going to be on rider left side. So most of your adjustments are going to be on your right side. You can adjust that left side one, but they are not the same shock on both sides, and this drives me nuts with Harley. Just go with a mono shock on your touring frame, Harley, or give us 2 equal shocks in the back. Now, in the past, I know that the front telescoping shocks also had 2 different shocks left and right. I'm not quite sure about the newer model. I can say they ride so much better this year than they did in previous years. So whatever they changed, it's great. Thank you, Harley, but I would love to see inverted front forks on here, which you can get on the CVO models. So if you're looking to spend a whole bunch of extra money, you can do that, or you can go aftermarket, or you can, I think Harley now sells inverted fronts that you can convert your Road Glide with if you don't want to go for the full CVO. Overall though, I would love to just see inverted front shocks on the touring models right across the line. All right, so let's move over to gauges. So with the Lowrider ST, you've got a single analog gauge that does have a little digital section towards the bottom, which is going to give you your mileage, your fuel range, your ride modes, and all that other stuff. And you're comparing that against the Road Glide, which is using a full 12-inch TFT infotainment screen. I mean, this thing is quite impressive. To me, it's almost a little too much. But for a lot of people, I know that they really dig it. And if you're using maps and all that other fun stuff on this gauge, it's great because, I mean, you are going to have a nice big map in front of you. You're basically playing with an iPad that's mounted to your fairing. And it is fully customizable. I got to play around with this. You can move your gauges around. You can move the map around. You can choose what you're seeing on your screen. This thing is impressive, and it is a huge leap forward from what they were doing on the previous models. So again, like, Harley, welcome to the new century. You guys are killing it when it comes to this stuff. You finally caught up. Good job, guys. Now, the Lowrider ST does not come with speakers. However, there is an $1,100 drop-in speaker bar that you can get for this bike. However, do be aware that with that drop-in speaker, there's still no sort of infotainment screen on there. So your phone is going to be doing all the work. You're going to have to connect your phone to this sound bar if you want any sort of sound, music, any of that stuff. Just keep that in mind. Whereas with the Road Glide, again, you've got that 12-inch screen. And honestly, you do not need your phone to use this. You've got maps that are already installed on there. You've got AM/FM radio that's already there. And you can take a USB, load it up with all of your music, plug it in, and never think about it ever again, except to add more songs if you so choose. And you never have to connect your phone to your bike if you don't want to. And let's be honest, you can get a 500 gig USB for like $30 nowadays, and that's gonna hold your whole music collection or pretty damn close. You could load up a USB, plug that in your glove box, and just stop thinking about it and not use your phone. However, if you do want to use your phone, you can connect it directly, or you can use Apple CarPlay. Unfortunately, it does not support Android Auto, which makes me sad, but I'm sure that there's some third-party plug and plays that you can now attach to this that would take care of that issue for you. Now, I mentioned ride modes real quick, but let's go back to that. The Lowrider ST has 3 ride modes. It has Standard, Sport, and Rain. Whereas the Road Glide has those 3 ride modes, but it also has one that you can customize and do whatever you want with, totaling out to 4 ride modes. And I think that's absolutely fantastic. So if you want your bike to have a little bit more punch, if you want it to be a little more reserved, if you just want to completely customize it top to bottom, there you go. There is a whole different mode that you can make to ride the way you want it to ride. And I think that is very cool, especially if you're not planning to tune the bike, if you're not planning to do anything crazy to the engine. Even if you are, you can still customize that mode and you can get a little bit more, a little bit less, whatever you want to do. Again, you do you. Now this I consider kind of a drawback to the Lowrider ST if you're treating this like a baby bagger. If you're always riding by yourself, fantastic. But if you're looking to take a passenger, the Lowrider ST only comes with a single seat. So you're going to have to get a passenger pillion, or you're going to have to get a 2-up seat, and then you're going to have to get passenger foot pegs before you can take a rider with you. You cannot just take this bike off the floor and ride 2 up. I feel like this is a little bit of a detriment to this bike, but at the same time, it does look really nice that way. So, you know, it's hit or miss. If you are a solo rider, if you never plan to bring anyone with you, this bike is good to go. If you're looking to go 2-up, the Road Glide may be a better option for you because it comes with that 2-up seat and it comes with those passenger floorboards right off the floor. It is ready to go. There's nothing else to do. You just hop on and go. And I think that is a big advantage for the Road Glide. Now, really, this last category doesn't matter because let's be honest, it's not hanging around. But the Lowrider ST has a 2-in-1 exhaust, whereas the Road Glide goes 2-1-2, which means you've got 2 pipes coming off of the engine, it goes into one, and then it splits apart in the back, and you've got an exhaust on each side. So a lot of people do like to take their Road Glides and go into that 2-in-1 setup. Some people like to stay 2-1-2. I actually have the 2-1-2 setup. I like that setup. Partially because I've already got the cutouts on my bags because I'm riding a special, and you know, I don't want to change all that stuff around. Whatever, that's me. But you know, you do you. Overall, though, we all know that whatever exhaust is coming out of the factory is gone. I feel bad for the Harley factory workers that are building and installing the seats and building and installing the exhaust, because we both know those are the first things to go on every Harley on earth. So these two groups of people, their jobs are completely pointless. I don't know. I feel like Harley should just sell you the bike, get you to buy whatever aftermarket seat you want, and then take that brand new seat that hasn't been touched and ship it back to the factory so they can just put it onto the next bike and send it out. That way they're not making so many of these things and loading up landfills with them, because again, no one's keeping these things stocked. Winding down, these are both using similar hand controls. These were both updated just recently, so they've got a lot more functionality. They're more like a game controller now than, just a couple buttons like they used to be. They are both running full LEDs all the way around. The big difference here is the Lowrider ST is running that single round headlight, whereas the Road Glide is just running that massive front end LED light. I have no doubt that Road Glide is lighting up way more of the road than that Lowrider ST. And when it comes down to it, if you're doing a lot of riding later at night, early morning, all those times where it's a lot darker, the Road Glide is going to be the way to go on this one. But if you're mostly a day rider or you're not doing a lot of nighttime stuff, it doesn't really matter. The Lowrider ST with its LED headlight is going to be completely sufficient and do a great job for you. Last but not least, seating position. Now, I've taken both these bikes out, and I love that the Road Glide has floorboards for you, so you can stretch out a little bit more. It's a little more comfy. You have a couple different options where to put your feet. The Lowrider ST uses foot pegs, and they come up kind of high. When I took that bike out, I had stock foot pegs on it, and I was sitting in basically a bullfrog position. I'm 6'1", and yeah, I was kind of my knees were up in the breeze. This definitely felt more like a bar hopper to me than something that I was going to take on longer rides. However, I have sat on friends' lowriders that have put different pegs on, or they put floorboards on, stuff like that, and it gets way more comfortable. But right off of the floor, if you're a taller guy, this probably isn't going to be the bike you're going to want to go take on a weekend trip or put a few thousand miles on right out of the gate. You do kind of sit like that. It's a little awkward. But again, you may like that seating position. I'm not a huge fan of it. All right, so which bike would I choose if I was walking into a Harley dealership right now and had to buy something brand new, ready to go? I think this is not a surprise to anyone. I would take that Road Glide 10 times out of 10. And that's because of a few different reasons. Again, I absolutely hate clamshell bags. So if I got a lowrider, I'd be replacing those anyway. I like having that infotainment system right there. I like having maps available. I like the bigger bike. I like to be able to stretch out a little bit more. You can throw your feet up on the engine guards if you need. There's just more option there, and I can take a passenger right out of the gate. I know I'm losing a little bit of horsepower out of this, but I mean, honestly, I'm taking my bike and I'm having it tuned and all that other fun stuff anyway, so it doesn't really matter to me. It's not a huge difference. We're talking about 9 horsepower. I'm good. I can make that work. I know it's a little bit more expensive, but overall, I think you get more bang for the buck out of a Road Glide than you do a Lowrider ST. But that's not to say that a Lowrider ST is a bad bike. I mean, this thing is a powerhouse, and it is, quite honestly, one of the most popular bikes with Harley right now. I mean, anytime I do a Lowrider ST video, those are getting the most views, and that's the bike that people tend to talk about the most. So it is a popular release from Harley, and it seems like some other motorcycle companies could really stand for putting out something similar to try and get into that competition and maybe take a bite out of that market. But for the time being, you've got Harley Davidson and you've got the Lowrider ST. All right, guys, so what do you think? If you were walking into a Harley dealership right now and you had to choose between the Lowrider ST and a Road Glide, which would you go for? Sound off down below. I'd love to know about it. Let's talk about it. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell notification, share this video with friends, share it with family, share it with that one dude you know who's like, well, I want a fixed fairing bike, but I just don't know which way to go. Here you go, dude. I broke it down for you. He loves this stuff. Trust me. I'll see you all on the flip side.